Welcome to the Bernie Kosar Show with the legendary Cleveland quarterback himself alongside the top dog, Hanford Dixon. Okay, boys, we also have, look at this, I'm going to get...
Keep us boys in control.
That's right.
We'll keep you in line today. We also have, let's take a look at Dave's shot with a nice, cute background.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, big dog.
Yeah.
Big play.
Oh, and guys, look at this. Look what Dave did for us. This is called the trio shot.
Oh, the trio.
All
Gab,
three
you
of
got to
us.
take credit for this high tech here.
I
Thank you
know.
for making me and Top Dog look better.
good,
Yeah.
Very nice. I will say, I think your lighting's a little better. We got you looking cute, boys. So, hey, what do you say we get into our opening drive? We'll take a look at some of this NFL playoff football we've had.
You got it.
Sounds good.
All righty. Stand by. There she is. Okay, we had some great playoff games this weekend, and we still have Cowboys-Bucks tonight. But let's talk about some of those crazy wild card games. We could start with the Jaguars-Chargers because I know you both picked them to win the Jaguars last week. And how about that crazy comeback?
Hey, for the opening drive and to pick that game, absolutely shows you why NFL football is so awesome and so exciting right now. It's a Monday. I want to, especially after last week and the way our season ended, I want to be super positive, super enjoying, and super into the awesome football we saw yesterday. But it just sits with me and Top Dog when we were playing. Like, I hate to keep going back to when we were playing statements and stuff. But God, not being in the playoffs from a Browns perspective, not being part of Super Wild Card Weekend, and seeing how awesome those games were was disappointing from the Browns standpoint, not being involved in it. But then also, as we get through the course of the show, seeing how much work we got to do to compete against some of the teams we saw yesterday. And those weren't even the top two seeds in our league.
Well, you know what? BK, watching yesterday, I realized one thing. After I realized that I'm a football addict. I mean, I really am. I mean, I just couldn't get enough of watching game after game after game. And normally, when the later game comes on, I'll fall asleep and I have it recorded and I wake up and have to watch it over again. But that just didn't happen yesterday. I sit there and I watch football game after football game after football game. And you know what? I realized, again, I already knew this myself, but how much I miss the game. Because when I truly, and you guys have heard me say this time and time again, when I truly miss the game, is during
this time of the year,
Yes,
playoff times.
yes,
God, you're making me
yes,
feel old.
yes.
You're so right, though. That's the adrenaline. Heck, as I'm sitting here gazing over at you, the goosebumps are rolling underneath the sweatshirt, thinking about just the excitement level that you had playing in those games and seeing the magnitude of them and seeing the way that some of the guys rose to the occasion yesterday was impressive. And again, I want to be positive.
Lawrence. How about Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that second 30 minutes, not the first 30. And you know what? And Gab had mentioned about that game in particular to start off talking about. We talked last week on the podcast. I'm massively biased towards Dougie Fresh Peterson as one of my old teammates in the quarterback room. And I still feel like he's the young kid, but he's one of the veteran coaches in our league. And to see what he did Saturday night and to see Trevor Lawrence's progress after the mess he had last year, that was one hell of a second half.
You know what? I watched him and some of those interceptions. You could just see the pain in his face when he was throwing those interceptions. Guys, look at it. This kid came out. He threw 4 interceptions, and then I think he had 4 touchdowns. He threw 4 touchdowns too in this game. For him to just hang with it, stay with it, and just keep the team together, saying, because what were they down, 27-0?
27-0.
27-0. Is there anyone, I don't think there's anyone that was down 27-0 in the playoffs and came back to win a game. Is there anybody, or can you think of anybody? Or
I think we go back to the Frank Wright, 31-3. He was down at one point against the Bills and the Oilers back in the day.
How about the guy who bet over $1 million at halftime for the Chargers money line? $10,000 payout.
Yeah, did that guy have?
$1 million.
I was chuckling. I was chuckling on that. Did he do the same promotional bet that I did last week? Okay, was he doing that for charity and for promotion? Because there's a hell of a donation that Home Slice made.
Well, you know what? It's funny you mention that because I think the guy, he bet the 1.4, and he was going to win only about 10 grand.
10 grand.
And he was just so confident. He said, "Hey, and I can understand where he was coming from. Of course, there's no way I would have bet it, but I can understand where he was coming from. I mean, hell, I got this one in the bag, you know."
I wanted to load it into the show, but have you guys seen that meme of the football player? I think it was a high school football game, but he says, "They had us in the first half, not going to lie." That's what Trevor Lawrence tweeted after the game, that picture of that high school player saying that. I wanted to load it into the show, but he had such a sense of humor because it was 30 unanswered points that for them to come back with that. Bernie, what would you be thinking, if you threw 4 interceptions? Like, how do you turn that train around?
Oh, thank you, good Lord, that I didn't throw 4 interceptions ever in the first half, let alone in a playoff game. And, I want to say this in the spirit of levity and to try to be funny and stuff. There's a lot of major social issues going on in our society, and with the off season coming, some of those health and wellness, social issues, I think we want to tackle on the show here and stuff. So I want to say these words in the spirit of levity because Top Dog, you had mentioned, that you realized yesterday that you're almost addicted to football and playoff football in particular. And I'm friends and teammates with the great Michael Irvin. And Michael Irvin uses that phrase, too, that he's addicted to football and stuff. So, those are important words and what's going on in society and what's happening with overdose deaths and things of that nature and stuff. So Gab asks how I would feel and stuff. I actually, and again, I would feel suicidal. I mean that it means that much, and I mean I want to say that in jest, but the reality of the importance of how much goes into the game, what you're thinking about is going to happen during the game. And then me and you spend so much time together as teammates. Yeah. And here I am. Yeah. I'm letting my 52 guys down. Yeah. Gab, I'm thinking about the closest analogy to me was I'm playing my second year in the league, the Jets double overtime game where, God, thank you, Lord, we came back and won. But I threw back-to-back picks in the fourth quarter. Jesus, God, shoot me. That's so stupid. Yeah. Okay? I threw 2 picks back-to-back in the fourth quarter. I was on the half-yard line. Yeah. I was like Huntley. He fumbled. I threw a pick. Geez. Then I coupled that up on the next play and threw another one. So to be down 10 like that, I so get that. And that's the good Lord brought me out of it because those are things you can sometimes never come back from. And for Trevor Lawrence at home to have that terrible first half with 4 picks like that, and then for the good Lord to bless him with that comeback in the second half. Those are life-changing. They're absolutely career-changing moments for players.
Well, I could say this, Gab, before we move on. One thing I know about you, as long as there's time on the clock, I don't care if you threw 8 picks, 6 picks, 5 picks. You always believe that we're going to come back and we're going to win.
Believe it.
Believe that we're going to win.
You have to have it. And the short answer to that is, as hard as it is for human nature, you have to have amnesia. You have to forget about it.
And Gab, as a player, you can feel it. You know when the game is changing. You know when you're coming back. You know when you have them on the ropes talking about the opposing team. And I guarantee you, Trevor Lawrence, his teammates could tell you that he had that look in his eyes and he knew that they were going to come back and they were going to win this ball game.
How about Staley? Is he on the hot seat after that blow-up loss? What do you think? And would you want him as defensive coordinator for the Browns?
No, I have my eyes on someone that I want for this defensive coordinator. But the problem is the guy that I'm looking at, Flores. Bernie, he's got possibility of being a head coach, and with that possibility, he's not going to commit right now to the Browns or any other football team until he can see whether or not he can land a head coaching job.
Absolutely, that's unfortunate for us, for people that like ourselves. We want to have that decision made. We want to lock up hopefully the best guy possible. Arizona Cardinals have asked to talk with Coach Flores, so you can't blame a guy for kind of wanting to check out those type options. Gab, to your question on Coach Staley, our John Carroll alumnus, he was D coordinator there, I think, in 2015 and 16, and to have this career transition to where he's become a D coordinator, now a head coach like this the last couple of years, that's an amazing run for him. I'm a fan of him. I like him. It's going to be tough for him to survive this situation right now.
Let's move on to Buffalo beating Miami. Josh Allen got into a little shoving match with Christian Wilkins. So this is a good time for us to ask, who did you guys ever fight with or give you grief during your playing days?
Are you kidding? All the
Who
time.
didn't we?
Who didn't we fight with? I mean, every single game. I know I was into it with someone or some player because, Gabby, I was one of those guys that talked a lot. I mean, I talked about their mama. I talked about their daddy. I talked about their kids. I talked about if they had any kids. If they had a wife, I talked about his wife. I constantly, anything that I could do to get that edge, to get his mind off of the game and have him thinking about me, that's what I did. I mean, obviously, I would go back after the game or something and shake the guy's hand, good game or whatever, but during the game, I wanted to try to control him. And, again, another story I've told you guys, and I don't know if you remember, I'll never forget I was a rookie. I came into the league. And we were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there was John Stallworth, there was Lynn Swan, but I was pretty much on John Stallworth the whole game. And, boy, here I was a rookie, and I'm talking to him and just trying to get in his head. He never said a word. He never said a word. And, BK, do you know that bothered me?
I was going to say, did that play the game? Was that the reverse Uno card?
Yes.
That got to you now.
Yes, it got to me because he never said a word. And it's funny because I see him sometime and I said, "You son of a bitch, you." I said, he just laughed. He just laughed. He said, "See, I got you there." I said, "You damn right, you got me, big dog."
Yeah, talking smack and stuff out there. I used to like to chat with the safety and the middle linebacker and stuff because you could actually get little information, and things out of them that you could use during the game.
What would you say
You guys had your own little battle going on.
Oh, it'd be a mental chess match. I mean, I had a lot of fun. There was guys like the Raiders were really big back then, so Matt Millen was their middle linebacker, so there'd be a lot of chatting going on with him. Stacy Torin, God bless him, he's passed, but he was another guy, a safety that was a tough guy, the precursor to Ronnie Lott. And
see what those guys were doing defensively, talking about those linebackers and talking about those safeties. What they wanted to do was disguise their defense, what they were doing, trying to make Bernie think that he was seeing something that he actually wasn't seeing. But they don't know that was the old pro right there.
Yeah, seeing things and then trying to throw you off your game and stuff, trying to get you off and getting you emotionally into it. And Top Dog, you were talking about how much love and respect we have for the game, and almost the addiction of love that we have, especially this time of the year. And God, it sounds a little maybe cocky of me what's going through my concussed head right now. But, you talk about Josh Allen yesterday and the Dolphins going with Chris Wilkinson and them talking smack and stuff. It was kind of emotional for me watching even that game. I was talking to some of the Dolphin coaches over the weekend before they went up to the Buffalo, and they were joking with me about they went back to study the Buffalo Bills so much that they saw film of me the last time the Dolphins played the Bills in the playoffs. The game got a little out of line, so the great Dan Marino had taken a seat for the day, so I did a little cleanup duty. So they were doing their level of analysis on the Bills by watching me play, so that was almost 30 years ago. So to watch them play yesterday and to see that they're down to their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
And again, all year you've
Yeah.
heard me brag, and I am a Josh Allen
Yeah.
fan. I love what the Bills are doing. Ken Dorsey, their offensive coordinator, is a Cane, so I love what they're doing there. But the Dolphins and Coach McDaniel, what they put together yesterday, and I know that there's stuff with that 4th and 1 and the clock's running down with your third string quarterback. Buffalo's loud, tough to play. How they even were in that game was amazing yesterday. And to watch another team I played with that's playing tonight, the Cowboys, it's kind of cool this time of the year. We start out talking about how bummed out, how empty almost you feel by the Browns not being part of it this time of the year, as we're doing somewhat of a Browns show and stuff. But man, showing your age to think, to have played playoff games for the in Buffalo against with the Dolphins, to see the Cowboys playing tonight, it's pretty cool.
Well, I was going to ask you a quick question. You talk about the Dolphins and their quarterback. They had a kid that wore number 19, a rookie, talking about Skylar Thompson. This kid didn't play bad.
No, you know what? He was 18 for 45,
Yeah.
220.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like good stats. I know 18 for 45. And again, not being a quarterback apologist, that yesterday, like we have in Cleveland yesterday and today, it's a rarity this time of the year that we get sun. Buffalo had nice sun yesterday. The direction they were going caused the receivers to drop a couple passes. He could have hit a couple bombs early to Waddle and stuff. It was impressive, though. It was actually impressive to watch him play. And to see Skylar Thompson, he was the second to last quarterback drafted this year, started for the Miami Dolphins, and then Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, not playing like Mr. Irrelevant, playing for getting the playoff W for the 49ers. That's kind of cool to see these two young men play really solid, good quarterback football for rookies.
Bernie, the Dolphins are, I think they have a leader in their head coach, as unconventional as he is. What do you make of Mike McDaniel? Just the leadership, the way that he's interacted with the players.
I
Because
love
think
Mike
the Browns
McDaniel.
would love that.
Yeah, no, I love Mike McDaniel. I like that staff. Got a chance to know him just a little bit when he was here with Cleveland under Kyle Shanahan back 6-7 years ago. So his background knowledge and of coaches is exceptional, and just his personality and stuff. The way he meshes down there with his team epitomizes what I would say is a player's coach, and for him to have brought his team to play yesterday and to have a game that they actually could have pulled out yesterday with their third string quarterback was super impressive.
Well, I'm just sitting here laughing. You talked about him. I just think the damn guy is just too damn smart. I mean, he is so smart. And you could tell he really is. What was he, a Harvard grad? And
I think Yale, so they may fight over that. I called him a Harvard grad, but
and what did they said he did his paper or something? His thesis on.
he did his thesis, his dissertation on the football in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah, the 70s.
I mean, you can tell he's just not a nerd, but he's smart as hell, man. I tell you. And I'm gonna say this before we move on, Gab. I just really felt for. Only thing I felt for Thompson on yesterday was it seemed like the whole time you mentioned it, they were fighting with the clock, trying to get the playoff before the clock. Because to go from 4th and 1 at the end to 4th and 6 really hurt.
Yeah, he'll be sick about that for the rest of his life.
But
there's
well.
no doubt Coach McDaniel and Skylar will be sick of that, and they'll reflect on that. He probably did not sleep much last night thinking about that. One of the things that's happening with teams now, and it helps having the communication with the headset in there, and I love it, the motion and shift package, the personnel groupings. When you're trying to trick people like you're trying to do with your third quarterback, you end up having to do a lot of personnel groups, motions, and shifts. And when the crowd noise is that loud like that with a young quarterback, you could see you get that communication issues that really hurt them at a crucial time.
Before we move on, Dolphins, do you think they need to take a look at a new quarterback giving to a situation going forward?
This will probably be a for sure out of my mouth a big part of the next 3 months or 4 months of the show, and where I focus on of the health and wellness of us and people, and in particular guys like Tua. Me and Tua had the same doctors at the Dolphins from over the years. I saw John Uribe still doing that when Tua was unconscious on the field in Cincinnati. That last concussion that caused him to miss this last sequence of games really wasn't that big a hit.
Right.
So I still remember, and it's not as putting on my Dr. Kosar hat here now. Once you get a couple concussions, the next few, unfortunately, come way easier. Unfortunately, it looks like Tua is getting into that situation now. I so hope I'm wrong. I so hope some of the treatments that we're trying to do that are new out there from a holistic standpoint could bring him some relief, but this is absolutely a scary situation. Yeah, from the football standpoint and what they can or should do, maybe one thing. And then personally, what Tua can and should do, it's really tricky as a guy who's, I mean, if you told Top Dog and Bernie Kosar, 24 years old, that was not going to play football anymore because you had 3 concussions in a year, we'd kill you.
Yeah.
Okay? We want to still play. So
You know what I think, too? I think, and this is easier said than done, I think he's got to be aware of, because I watched the last concussion that he got. You got to be aware of, know how to fall. I mean, when you're falling on the ground, you got to be aware you can't let your head hit the back of the on the turf. Let me tell you why. Because
there is an art to getting hit.
I'm gonna give you an example of me. I mean,
as dumb as that sounds, there is.
Last year, I was coming out of one of the stores, and I had both of my, and it snowed a lot, and I had both of my hands filled. And boy, my feet, I tell you what, they went right out from underneath me, and I fell right on my back. But one thing I know went to my mind in the fall: do not let your head hit the concrete. And I didn't. See, I think he's just got to be, for some reason, somebody's got to get that to him and let him know that you can't let your head hit, especially him, because I mean, it wasn't a vicious. You're right. It wasn't a vicious fall. But it was enough, I guess, since that's his third.
If only we knew a guy who got hit a bunch.
Yeah. Wait.
I worry he's going to be emptying his teeth on a podcast.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, absolutely. We say it in jest, but it's before the Browns played the Dolphins, I ended up with in the same hotel that the Dolphins were staying in. I got a chance to see Coach McDaniel, the staff, and then Tua quite a bit before that game. And you could tell the Dolphins are cognizant of that, because after the second concussion, they were so specific in trying to really keep him away from getting hits and stuff too, where they were trying to do the quick rhythm RPO type throwing and stuff. But you could kind of mask that stuff in the short run, but for over the course of the season, trying to not get your quarterback hit.
Quick question before we move on: if Tua was there yesterday, do they win that game?
Yes. Tua's, well, because you would understand the offensive system. There's motions, personnel, motions, and shifts. You don't run into the clock management side of it, and you feel more comfortable in some of those plays. And that's nothing against Skyler.
Right, that's what I was just getting ready to say. Yeah, nothing against him. I mean, I thought the kid played extremely well. Under the circumstances, I thought he did.
All right, let's move on to Cincinnati surviving the Ravens. And we all know who Hanford wanted to win last night, Bengals-Ravens game. Bernie, who are you pulling for?
Well, because I took Cincy with 6.5, despite that.
You wouldn't rub that one in, would you?
So I'm, I'm a bit, as much as I talk about Josh Allen, my love for him is equally, I've been as gratuitous and complimentary, and with my Joe Burrow compliments. Joe Burrow is exceptional again too. You know what I really took out of the game yesterday? Not as much from Joe and from Josh Allen's standpoint, which is ironic to me that I'm not going to overly compliment those two and those two's offenses. But it reminded me of what's happening. I saw it in the Giants game. I actually saw it with the Vikings. I'm seeing it with Brock Purdy and the 49ers. when you really, and I saw it with us offensively in 86 and 87, bluntly, but you get to a time of the year, at this time of the year offensively, where I've so ingrained what I know what you're doing defensively. I get to look at every game you just played. I get to see all 16, 17 games, see preseason. I got your coordinator down to a T. I got your coverages down. You don't have new ones that you're coming up with. And it reminded me that the really good offenses, like we saw yesterday, like Daniel Jones is coming out party with Brian Dable. Doug Peterson with Trevor Lawrence in the second half and stuff. That ability to, when you are hitting your rhythm and you're on your game, it's hard to really stop top tier offenses now. And I think Joe Burrow is close to putting the Bengals offense all together. And he didn't quite do it Sunday night against the Ravens, and to Ravens' credit, but they're close to putting it together.
Well, I got to counter with that with the defense because just like you say, you've watched every game. We've watched every game of what you guys try to do on offense. I could tell you when you're wide receivers, whoever it is, where he lines up, what formation, what the set is, what he's going to do, what route he's going to. Not saying every time I'm going to stop it.
No,
but,
I know, and so that's where my studying is, and why I love the bye week so much, because I got that extra week to study, and actually I would self-scout myself. So I would not only would I be scouting the 16 or 17 games that you played, I would also see what I did and where was I successful, because I know you're going to look at the same thing. So I'm going to say, okay, top dog's looking at Kosar right here, and I'm looking left. Okay, so if you are outside edge of the number, okay. Do you have a tendency when you line up outside edge of the number to want to run a slant? When you line up inside edge of the number, you tend to run a fade. Those are the type of little things that I will change just for that game. I will have set it up in week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe even give up a game or a play or two to set up for the playoffs, knowing that I got to play like, back in the day, I'd always get ready to play like Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes, and I'd be setting up plays for them.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I'm going to tell you one particular game I'll never forget. We was playing in Seattle, and I had to go against Steve Large. And I had watched so much film on this guy, and my film study told me if he lines up 3 yards outside the numbers, he come down 12 yards, cut toward the post. If he's going to run the post corner, he's going to take that third step, then he's going to go to the post corner. He took 2 extra steps. When he took those 2 extra steps, I jumped that post pattern. As soon as I jumped that post pattern, he came back on the post corner on me, and I said, "God damn it, boy!" Because I knew then I was in trouble when he did that.
Take the cheese,
right? just enough to set me up. And then what happens is, as well as I do, you're depending on your defensive lineman getting to the quarterback, not late. But if he's got time, it's over, man. It's over. But I want to say this about that Ravens and the Ravens game yesterday and Cincinnati game. That was a football game. You could just feel it. Every single play, those guys were going out. They were giving everything they had. On defensively, you had guys like Campbell, Smith, Queen, Peterson, Humphrey, as far as the
playoff football.
Playoff football.
We talk about the difference going from college to pros and the level of speed. We talk about preseason games to the regular season, the increased level of speed and intensity. Yesterday, God, I love playoff football. The NFL football in regular season is massively hard. It's massively tough. It's massively fast. There's a whole other level of speed and intensity when you get to the playoffs. That was beautiful to watch yesterday.
And I'll say this, on one of those particular plays, Harbaugh, you could just see him right there. If you was reading his lips, he said, you have got to be shitting me. You know what I said, I understand, my man. I understand what you're talking about.
That wouldn't be a QB sneak 3 yards out.
You guys know, and Bernie got me, but the Ravens should have won that damn game. But that's all right. It doesn't count who should have won. It counts who won.
Who's going forward?
Who should have won? Okay, 49ers beat Seattle, and Bernie, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but one of the bigger stories this year has been Brock Purdy, 7th-round pick, rookie quarterback, not playing like Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah, you know what? I've been following him since his Iowa State days with got his coach. Got his coach, I think it's Campbell. With his dad was an O-line coach from Northeastern Ohio,
Yeah.
so he's been well versed in almost like a college system that was almost well versed in the running type system, the play action passing system that Kyle Shanahan's doing, and what the 49ers are doing offensively now is just spectacular.
Yeah, how much of his success is due to Kyle Shanahan just putting him in great positions?
Well, the phrase that Hanford Dixon dislikes one of the most is complimentary football. Okay, so not that I want to bust his balls, okay, and throw out complimentary football, but Kyle Shanahan's offense and offensive prowess is amazing. We talk at length of personnel groups, motion shifts. The running game is spectacular, and the defense of the 49ers is even more impressive than the impressive offense and the scheme that they do. So when you could rush and get pressure with 4 down linemen like the San Francisco 49ers can, and you could cover with 7 with the speed of those linebackers and size.
And Nick Bosa.
Oh, and Nick Bosa. They're loaded as a team. So it's absolutely, I'm not diminishing Brock Purdy's gifts and the way he's played as a rookie, but there is absolutely, we are victims or beneficiaries of the people around us, and he is absolutely benefiting from not just Kyle Shanahan, just John Lynch and the team they've put together is an exceptional team to be a quarterback for.
So what you're saying is that I can go out there with that team, that system, and
Oh, no.
Oh, so you disagree already, huh?
Okay, top dog.
So you disagree too, huh? What do you?
I love you, so I may take you out there because I know your competitiveness and will to win, but not just
The answer's
anybody.
no, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a good one. I could help that one. I
Okay,
laugh at myself sometimes.
Where would we be without Hanford's
I know.
tackle?
That's right.
The Giants beat the Vikings at home. Brian Dable. Now, Bernie, you have a personal relationship with him. He's having a lot of success as a head coach. What was he like as a Browns OC? He was ranked last
The
in
last.
offense in 2009.
So in 2009,
Yeah.
okay, we were the last rated offense in the NFL. And I was talking about and doing shows like this where people were asking me what I thought of Coach Mangini, Coach Dable, and the Cleveland Browns offense. And I said, God, I really love this young coordinator, Brian Dable. And people were looking at me like I'm either a suck up, making this up, or massively wasted, which I think I was at that time anyways. Okay. But he was an amazing coach and did great things there. And I saw that from that point forward, from that point in 08 and 09, yet the results really weren't there. And to be, really be following him, friends with him, and then bluntly trying to help him get a head coaching job since 09, 10, 11 and stuff, to be talking to him yesterday after the game and see emotional. I'm getting emotional right now thinking
Possibly
about
coach of the year.
Oh, he's coach of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, the team was woeful. And Daniel Jones, everybody was saying he sucked. He can't play. Now he's going to get a contract extension. Barkley saying he's the leader of the team. He is the leader of the team. He had 78 yards rushing yesterday,
yeah.
Daniel Jones, 71 in the first half, more yards than Barkley, a dominant performance. He's resurrected an organization, a franchise, a quarterback, an offense. What he's done, and it's just awesome to see that yesterday.
Is Daniel Jones going to make it into your bro crushes, your top 5?
So the way he's running the ball, it's going to be tough, okay, to make it all the way up into the top 5, okay.
Speaking of bro crushes, Birdie, out of all the QBs we've talked about, if you had to pick one to lead your team in the playoffs going forward, who would it be? Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, or Brock Purdy?
Okay, I'm going to fall under my uncoachable. I know you said just one, but Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are head and shoulders who I really have been talking about at length this year, and absolutely are dominant type quarterbacks. I got to say, though, right now, I love there's so much, and Ken Dorsey's the offensive coordinator at the Buffalo Bills, handling Josh Allen and stuff. This game coming up this week, both teams, the Bengals in particular, do 6 to 10 snaps of cover 0 every game. Yeah. They did it again last night. They do it every game. Yesterday, the Miami Dolphins did about 15 snaps of cover 0 against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So talking with Ken a little bit during the day yesterday and looking at how we are groomed and what we were groomed to do as University of Miami quarterbacks versus cover 0. Josh Allen was exceptional yesterday. He was taking a shot. That will pay if you play cover 0 against us, okay? He was throwing fades to the outside yesterday. An amazingly beautiful fades he threw. He hit one to Diggs. He hit one to Davis. Davis had, I think, 7 catches for 113. Diggs had catches for 114 yards. But when you get cover 0 and you have one back, they're picking it up with 7-man protections. You throw the post to the inside guy because the cornerback, the nickel or the dime back, has to cover the whole field on a cover 0. I look for those type of plays this week from both of those teams. And how do you handle the protection along with that? Because the Bengals ended up losing another offensive lineman last night.
You know what I think, though? I think with the Giants, I think the guy who sets the tone. Obviously, Daniel Jones is he's playing phenomenal right now. And I, like you, I didn't know he was that mobile. I mean, the kid he could escape, but the guy who really sets the tone, I think, on that offense is Barkley. I mean, you could just tell it, man. He runs really, really hard, but also he's a great outlet.
Well, his checkdowns. He had as many yards. Yeah. He had 56 yards receiving yesterday, and Coach Dable is doing such an exceptional job of using him as a decoy too. Quite a few of those passes are just play action bootlegs off of fakes to Barkley. That's really getting guys wide open on the outside.
I was shocked though. They went into Minnesota and beat Minnesota in Minnesota.
Well, and they beat Minnesota while Kirk Cousins played good football. I mean, he was 31 for 39 yesterday, 273, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he played a good game, and they still lost.
Yeah.
Guys, let's parlay this to the Browns. Little Tipico pun there. Okay, after watching these wild card games the last few days, how far away
are we going to parlay another Browns bet? You're going to really make sure I'm out.
Hell no.
Just betting lingo.
Stay away from that one, you know.
I had to do that joke. I'm sorry. They don't let me out often. I had to be an adult this weekend, so you got to deal with the juvenile Bernie.
To the Browns, but Bernie won't be making any bets. Anyway, you at home, check out Tipico. We'll get into those bets soon. But let's flip this to the Browns. And after watching all these wild card games and this playoff football, how far away are the Browns from being there?
Gab, I wish you wouldn't have gazed over at me when you asked that question, because in the spirit of wanting to be nice and positive, okay, the start of the new year, I want to stay in this happiness mode and this levity mode. And it's just not a shot, but the realism is that we have, I know we say we got a great roster. We have a nice roster. We have a good roster, but we don't have We don't have a team now that invokes fear to those teams that we're looking at that are still playing right now. And I look at that quarterback list. I'm from a football standpoint, I'm really a big fan of Deshaun Watson. I love how he throws the ball and moves and stuff. You could put him up there with him, but God, there's a half dozen Qs just in the AFC that. If you said you got to play with that quarterback, I would not be disappointed. I'd be damn happy, as a matter of fact.
And we just don't have those dogs on this football team on defense. I mean, you got to have some dogs. And what I mean by that is, and again, I'm going to go you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they have some of those dogs on their team. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, they have some dogs on their football team. Like Peterson yesterday, he's the guy that was pushing the envelope every single play, just getting into a fight with the wide receiver. You got Smith, linebackers. You what's the big guy right on the defensive line? I'm looking at Campbell.
Calais Campbell,
right on that defensive line.
Bad intentions.
Yeah,
I mean, for young kids out there, it's partly why I'd rather sit here in this table and not coach, because what you'd have to do for coaching to get them motivated to compete at this level, the things you got to say, the mindset you have to have, isn't a spiritual healing person now.
And I don't want to say we're soft, but we are soft. And
is there anyone on this team that can be that dog? Do you look at anyone on the defensive side and you point to them and say, this guy should be that guy?
You know what I think? Emerson.
Yeah.
When you look at him, he's a guy that he goes out and competes every play. I mean, Newsom's got a little bit in him, but. The answer: do we have the players? I mean, I think we're ways away right now with the talent on this team.
So all the teams need to build talent this time of the year.
Yeah.
I believe that really all of us have niceness in us, just like I believe all of us have the dog in us too. And again, this is not trying to point stuff at organizations and stuff. But I took my cue from Howard Schnellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, Marty Schottenheimer. We took our cue from him, okay? I could use a lot of bad words right now, but I mean those bad words as a compliment to how they treated us, okay? Yeah. I mean, if I say how they treated us, it would sound like I hated them, but I really loved them. I needed it. I embraced that almost masochistic treatment and stuff. But there was a level of emotion that was actually acceptable. And there's a level of, bluntly, even guys like myself being allowed to lead, where I could actually, Dave, you ask about, who's those guys, where I was allowed to be an animal. Yeah. And because I was an animal, it checked the other animals in line, and it kept us in almost a heightened sense of aggressiveness. And again, for the mothers out there, for young kids out there, I'm not sure I want to do that, nor do I think you should do that now today. But to win in January in the NFL, that is the sick mindset that you have to have, and you have to block out all rational, logical thinking to make yourself almost a crazed animal, a controlled, crazed animal that's able to get out there and make a difference.
Now, you guys mentioned how obsessed you are. Hanford says he's an addict, a football addict. And I know you guys were back in the day, but also, how closely would you actually watch the playoffs if you weren't in them? Not that it happened.
So
often,
let me jump in. I'm going to listen to Hanford here.
closely?
So Hanford used the word addict on that, okay? I was an addict till I wasn't, and then when I wasn't involved in the games, I was a big-ass baby, okay? Because I wasn't watching nothing if I wasn't in it, okay? Oh, we're going to the Super Bowl, okay, after we lost. Like, hell will freeze over. I'm not going to the Super Bowl. I'm not watching the Super Bowl in those Super Bowl parties.
Oh, no.
I lost a week ago.
Just too painful.
It was painful,
just too
man.
painful.
I got I got one. If I'm not playing it myself, I got my Super Bowl ring in my pocket.
Yeah,
okay,
too
this is all I wanted. Okay, This is more important things in life than this. Okay, but not to me when I played. Okay, so
It hurt too bad.
it really did. I mean, it really did. And we topped out. We were doing something last week, and we were talking about we all dream of that Disney World ending. It was so cool. And when we were getting Disney World called, and I was one of the 4 or 5 guys that had the possibility of maybe doing this. And you think about wanting to be the guy that wins the game, like some of the kickers or some of the stuff that happened over NFL history. But then we have some of the stuff that happened with us. Yeah. It's the drive or the fumble. It also goes the other way. And some of our brothers who have had amazing, awesome careers who we wouldn't be sitting up here. People wouldn't be thinking we're as cool as people say and compliment us if it wasn't for like some of the guys that have helped us be up here. And it affects lives positively, and then sometimes it affects it negatively. But, man, we put everything we had out there for it. But for each other.
I'm
gonna move our bus along. You guys have had some really great commentary. We're gonna have more in the 2-minute warning later on. But let's get to our big play bets, shall we? You guys did pretty good. Last week.
Love is burning a rub it.
All right, get ready to bet all season long with the show crew. We've got Cavs, NFL playoffs, and more. You can bet anywhere, but at Tipico, you'll get the best odds on your favorite Cleveland sports teams and players. Must be 21 years old. Gambling problem? You got to call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, let's take a look at some bets, Dave.
All right, let's pull up the Sportsbook app. Do we have it up there, Gab? There it is. Look at that. Yes. All right, so each of these playoff games, let's take a look. I want to hear which team you think is going to win and which quarterback you have the most faith in these matchups.
I'm sorry, I digressed. I got a text from somebody yesterday that said that the Browns had as much chance of winning my Browns bet as they had of winning yesterday. It took me a while to decipher that, okay?
Yeah, so I'm not giving Bernie any more bets. Bernie, do not take my advice. No more Browns money line going forward. Let's look at Cowboys Bucks in Tampa Bay. We've got Buccaneers +3. Playoff Tom +3, not favored at home against the Cowboys.
Okay, so I guess I'm supposed to start this out,
yes,
okay?
Yes.
As I had my Cowboy Super Bowl ring. Love you, Jerry Jones. Thank you so much, Jimmy Johnson, Cowboy organization. They are phenomenal to me. They were in a tough time for me, and I love that team, rooting for that team. Jason Light, the general manager for the Tampa Bay Bucks, was also one of my interns with the Dolphins as I finished my career, so I'm conflicted on both sides there. My heart wants to go with the Cowboys for that, but Tom Brady at home, and there's a big thing. I was massively slow, so I did not like AstroTurf, because natural grass tends to slow down the athletes, the fast guys. The Cowboys' defense is really built on speed, and they are better suited, I believe, in AstroTurf. The Cowboys are still a more talented, younger, more athletic team than the Bucks. But Tom Brady getting 3 points at home tonight on a grass field. Hopefully they can figure out some way to slow down that rush of the Cowboys.
Yeah, even though Prescott had a big game last year. I think it was 403 yards and 3 touchdowns against them last year. I can't go against the GOAT. I mean, plus, again, you mentioned that he's playing at home. I think Tom Brady and I think Tampa Bay are starting to put it together, and I can't see Dallas beating them. And I'm going to go with the GOAT.
All right, he's projected at 275 yards on the game, so not bad. I think Vegas think he's going to do all right as well. Let's.
Well, they also don't run the ball at all. Tampa Bay.
Right, yeah. That is true. Yeah. Let's move on. So that's tonight. Now we've got Jags at Chiefs. Trevor Lawrence versus Pat Mahomes. The Chiefs are favored by 8.5 right now.
Yeah, so I've been all over the last few weeks. My Dougie Fresh Peterson, awesome head coach. Love him. Trevor Lawrence, the athleticism is beyond belief. But we talked about this last week, and I'll say it a little bit again from this past Saturday. I really love Trevor Lawrence. He's a little tardy on his throws. He's not anticipating that the guy's going to be open. He's throwing the open receivers. Doug Peterson does an amazing job of getting open receivers. It's just it's tough to do consistently. And I think that the Jacksonville happiness train has run its course, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are ready to alleviate that sour feeling that they had from playing so bad in the second half of the AFC Championship game against Buffalo last year. They want to get back. Kansas City's not going to, I believe, let this slip by.
You know, what can I say? I mean, how are you? There's no way you can go against Patrick Mahomes and company. I mean, you just can't do it. They're playing too good, and they always rise to the occasion. And you're right. Andy Reid and his coaching staff, there's no way they lose this game. And I kind of feel bad for Jacksonville.
I guess we say that. We shouldn't be like that guy who put the 1.4.
Right.
Ain't no way, man. Ain't no way. It's all me. So drinks on me tonight.
Kansas
Until it's
City
not.
And Patrick Mahomes.
Easy. Over, under. Bernie, we didn't talk over-unders. Overs have been crushing this NFL playoff.
No, I mean, like we said about halfway through the year, overs when you start getting ready to play. And teams now with the offenses clicking, it's a tough task for defenses now to shut down offenses.
And especially with the way they call the game today. I mean, you defensively, you can't do anything.
Easy. No. Hey, but this is, as you're watching these games,
Hanford hated it, Bernie loved it.
You can't even wave at a quarterback today without.
So there was a really weak, rough, that was terrible. That was a bad one.
To do?
But it's really telling. If like we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I talk about it at length to players. August, September, early October, the referees call every touch foul on defensive holding, pass interference. As you trend towards December,
let them play.
And then for sure in January,
let them play.
Thou was allowed to grab.
Let them play.
Okay, you could grab, you could touch, you could push, and you have to. And that's why Marcus Peters is always such a clutch January dude, man.
Pushes the envelope.
He gets called during the year. They call him on that stuff. Yeah. Okay, but now you get away with a little bit, and he squat and he got himself in there. And those are the type of guys now that you could get away with those type plays. And if you're a receiver that's wishing for a call now, young men, don't. Okay, the games are too important. You got to go physical. And you saw one or two of the picks over this past weekend where the quarterback got blamed for it, but when you're going across the middle of the field, you got to cross the defender's face. You can't let that guy cut in front of you like sometimes these guys are doing.
You know what I like though? Did you see Thompson on that out and up? On that out and up when they set the defensive back, the corner up over there. And what I liked about it, he had him so wide open. He didn't overthrow him. He made sure the receiver had to come back for the ball a little bit, but he still scored on it. But that was I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up. I forgot to bring that up to you earlier.
Oh yeah. So we haven't seen an over under this high in a while. 52, that Jags Chiefs game. You like the over in that? You think we'll get a shootout, Trevor Lawrence?
The Chiefs are going to score 52, you know.
Hey, but this time of the year, for the fans out there, like last week's thing where you thought Lamar wasn't going to play, but the points weren't reflective of that when we made the choice at 6.5, but it ended up being 9.5 or so. When you're doing these over and unders, and here's a guy who got fired for talking about bets and stuff, okay? But when you're doing these overs and unders and it's Monday or Tuesday, careful. Check the weather out late in the week, okay? Because what it's going to be like, this past Sunday or Sunday in Buffalo is 4-mile-an-hour winds. Like a lock bet was to do the over, okay, in those games. So if you see Kansas City's weather is going to be nice like that, those teams are going to put the points up. If it's going to be a winter day, though, I mean, to say on Monday that it's not going to be 25-mile-an-hour winds, I have a little issue in my personal scarring because of the hell that I've gone through physically in Kansas City. I ripped my shoulder and my elbow out there, so the winds there are torture. So if the winds are there, if the winds aren't there, then, yeah, this is going to be a high-scoring game.
All right, let's keep it going. Giants going to Philly. Eagles -7.5. Hanford, let's start with you this time.
Boy, I tell you what, you talking about those Philadelphia Eagles who's playing as well as anyone right now. And, of course, that quarterback, I think he started out in Alabama.
Jalen Hurts, he's
I think
phenomenal.
he started out in Alabama. Then he
so-
moved to Oklahoma, I think he did. But
So does that mean careful? Careful here now, Dable.
I I like Brian, but I think the Eagles right now, their team, I think they're like a little machine right now that got it going. I'm going to go with the Eagles, and also with I think they'll take this game.
Yeah. So I really like the Eagles all year. Love what they're doing.
Don't bet with your heart, no.
But I think I'm betting with my heart and with my football mind. I really love what they've been doing. But Jalen Hurts, and I know when I hurt my elbow and my shoulder, it hurt, but I never said it did. Okay, because one, you didn't want the coaches to know, but most importantly, you don't want the other team to know. Right. So I watched Jalen come back. I think it was genius strategy to have him play in that Week 18 game. Okay, to get some rust out. But when I watched him play in that Week 18 game, he has rust. Okay, so is it so I walked away from that game not knowing it was going to be an Eagles-Giants game, but I walked away from that Week 18 Jalen Hurts game by saying, was it just rust or is his shoulder still hurting him? And I actually left with saying it's probably both. So if his shoulder's a little off and his timing's a little off because he was short-arming a couple of his throws. And what I loved yesterday with the Giants and what Brian Dable's staff is doing is almost a Bill Belichick philosophy. They take away what you want to do. So they overly study what you do. So he's going to really be, I think, ingrained to want to make Jalen Hurts play within the pocket and try to take away his ability to run. Easier said than done. But if Jalen is a little rusty or has that shoulder, and those are a lot of points for a playoff game. So I'm going to take the Giants.
Well, you know what? He's taken the same attitude that I took with the Baltimore Ravens the last week when I said, if Lamar. So, again, stand with the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, TBD. And then it is the duo bro crush. Bengals at Bills, Joe Shiesty and Josh Allen. Bills at home, -4.5.
You know, that's a tough one because I think both of these teams, I think they're playing right now. They could be had with another team, but that one's going to be a tough. I mean, but the Bills are playing at home. Cincinnati is playing extremely well. What are they, 8, 9 in a row? I want to say. Boy. But I'm going to go with the Bills. I think the Bills are playing at home. I think Josh is going to get it together. He didn't play as well, and Joe Burrow, but I think the Bills' defense are going to pull it together. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills at home.
Okay, I love both these cues, love both these staffs. Ken Dorsey is the offensive coordinator at the Buffalo Bills, and I'm so fixated on the 10 snaps of cover zero that the Bengals are going to do against Josh Allen and stuff. I know they're going to have a plan for that. I just love both quarterbacks, so I actually think the game is a toss-up. So in those, I take the points only for Joe Burrow and stuff. But I love both the guys. But I really want to look early, and I want to watch what Josh Allen's doing because he's awesome, but he has been almost a little emotional. He's a little quick to maybe pull it down and run. He sometimes they didn't look offensively in sync like some of the other teams that played yesterday. So how they kind of look to get in sync, but this is a top tier game.
Bigger bro crush right now. I'm going to make you pick Joe Burrow or Josh Allen.
I'm going with Joe Burrow.
Woohoo!
What?
I'm going with Joe Burrow here in this game.
What?
Yeah, I think with the way the weather could be bad, and when you get the windy weather, this is all Josh Allen and spread it out right now. That's really tough to do. That's a lot of pressure on your QB if it's just you in a shitty weathered day where the Bengals are under center. Sometimes they got the Hurst, the tight end, the Baltimore getaway is starting to play with those wide receiver weapons. It's hard to stop. It's hard to stop those three receivers when Joe Burrow is throwing so good and Joe Mixon is running. So they could actually have the ability to kind of go under center and run the ball and do play action pass. Where Buffalo is just so goes Josh Allen, so goes Buffalo.
Well, we covered all of our bases today. I'm going to give you the 2-minute warning. How about that?
Go for it.
Here she goes.
Hey, let's do the 2-minute warning.
Oh, just kidding. It doesn't work on Stream Deck.
Gab, click on it. It's X'd out. Click on the eyeball there. We'll edit this out. Don't worry.
Just keeping you on your toes, everybody.
You're allowed to. BK, we would expect anything different. Would we?
Hey, 2-minute warning. Keep us on our toes. Keep us excited, and keep the Top Dogs got me on the football addiction in January. I mean, that is absolutely it's again. I want to be positive. We're starting off the new year. It's disappointing the Browns aren't part of this show and stuff, but the way we've got to grow to actually be in this divisional round, and then the following week the AFC or NFC championship round, it's just really telling that we really have growth that's in front of us from the Cleveland Browns perspective if we want to compete with these teams that are here in just the divisional round.
You know what I like? Watching, again, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, but also watching the playoffs and how things are developing. I like watching the offensive and defensive line. I like watching those guys really play, especially the defensive line. And that's an area, Bernie, that we really have to address in this offseason, because we just don't have those. I mean, obviously we got Myles Garrett, but he's more of a pass rusher. I'm talking about those D tackles.
Yeah, I know. You're
right?
so
You know
on.
what
I mean, that was so telling yesterday,
Yeah.
and I love all of us. We love Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
You know, when you asked earlier in the show who's a dog
Yeah.
in a good way, Myles Garrett
Yeah.
is a top dog. Okay, so there's no doubt there. But to the original top dog's point, D tackles in size,
Yeah.
and man, when you look at what the Bengals are doing up front with their big dog who came back and stuff. That's
Is it Neely? Is that his name? What's the Reader? Or
Reader.
Yeah.
Reader. Like that's an essential part of what our probably off-season free agents are going to need to be, because when you see that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 earlier in the year, you thought it was for sure that these quarterback sneaks are going to be a given. Now you see these big ass teams with defensive tackles up there. You're not comfortable just running a quarterback sneak, except you play. And again, I'm not trying to dog our team, but if you play our team, you're not afraid to do a QB sneak, because your guards and centers are bigger than your D tackles. Yeah. We're probably one of the only teams in the league that the guards and D tackles are about the same size. Most teams have bigger D tackles.
And we want to let everybody know that we are going to be here, BK, doing this show next week and the weekend. I think we're going to do it throughout the playoffs.
Finish off the playoffs here. Yeah.
And Big Dog, as usual, another good show.
Top show, top stuff. Top Dog, love you. You matter. Go Browns.